Take a look at this map, which shows South Africa's highway system. This is a network of roads that stretches thousands of kilometers across the country, connecting every major city, port, and even neighboring nations. At first glance, it might look like something you'd expect to see in Europe or the United States. But this isn't the US interstate system or Germany's Autobahn. These highways are so well built, so modern, and so essential that they've become the best on the entire continent. And in many ways, they rival those of the developed world. In this video, we'll look at their history, how they're designed and funded, the role they play in the economy, and even the breathtaking landscapes they cut through. By the end, you'll see why South Africa's highways aren't just good, they're world-class. In the early 20th century, most roads were gravel or dirt, used mainly to link farms, mines, and small towns. As motor vehicles became more common in the 1920s and 1930s, the government began upgrading main routes with better surfaces to handle cars and trucks. By the mid-20th century, the National Party government realized the country needed a coordinated national network rather than scattered local roads. At that time, the US had just launched massive highway construction beginning in the 1950s, building long, wide, limited-access freeways that linked cities across the country.
The new superhighways are known by various names depending on where you live. You might call them expressways, turnpikes, parkways, or throughways.
South Africa's planners studied this model closely and decided to create something similar at home. This resulted in 3 highway systems, that is N routes, R routes, and M routes. National routes, or the N routes, were the main long-distance highways connecting major cities, ports, and border posts. Regional routes, or R routes, connected smaller towns and rural areas to the main N roads. Finally, the metropolitan routes, or M routes, served large urban centers, helping to move traffic within and around cities. Today, the heart of South Africa's road network is the National Route System, marked with an N followed by a number. You can think of them as the backbone of South Africa's transport system. There are a total of 18 of these highways stretching across the vast South Africa's territory. And perhaps most important of them all is the N1, stretching over 1,970 kilometers. It begins in Cape Town and runs north through Bloemfontein, Johannesburg, Pretoria, and all the way to the Zimbabwean border at a town called Beitbridge. It is one of the most critical highways, connecting the economic centers of the interior with both the coast and the rest of the continent. Then there's the N2, which is actually South Africa's longest highway, stretching for over 2,200 kilometers. It begins in Cape Town and runs along the southern coastline through the famous Garden Route, continues into the Eastern Cape, and eventually reaches Durban, before extending further up the coast into KwaZulu-Natal, before ending in Ermelo in Mpumalanga province. This makes the N2 both a vital economic corridor and one of the most scenic drives in the country, with stretches of ocean views, forests, and mountains along the way. Finally, the N3 connects Durban, home to the busiest port in Africa, to Johannesburg, which is the economic powerhouse of South Africa. This single highway carries an enormous share of the country's trade, with trucks transporting goods between the port and the industrial heartland every day. Other N roads worth mentioning include the N4, which runs east-west across the northern part of the country. On one end, it links Pretoria to the Mozambique border at Maputo through Mbombela. On the other, it extends westward through Rustenburg and into Botswana. N7 stretches north from Cape Town all the way to Namibia. It's the main road for cross-border trade and travel between the Western Cape and Windhoek. Parts of it pass through semi-desert landscapes, giving it a unique character compared to the coastal N2. Then there's the N12, which runs from George in the Western Cape through Kimberley and into Johannesburg south, before proceeding to Emaleni, where it links with the N4. It also forms part of Johannesburg's southern bypass, connecting the N1 and N3. The N14 links Pretoria to Upington and eventually to Springbok in the far northwest of the country, where it meets with the N7. It passes through the arid Northern Cape, serving as a major link to mining and agricultural areas. Finally, we have the N17. Though short, it's an important route, running from Johannesburg eastwards through Secunda and Ermelo, eventually leading toward Eswatini. It helps funnel industrial and mining traffic out of Gauteng. And perhaps interestingly, in Johannesburg, the Galulies interchange, where the N3 and R24 meet, is the busiest interchange in the Southern Hemisphere. According to a Mail and Guardian report, close to 200,000 vehicles pass through it daily, making it a vital but also heavily congested node in Gauteng's freeway system. The R routes form the second tier of South Africa's road classification system, sitting just below the N routes in importance. R routes are numbered with an R followed by 2 or 3 digits. The lower numbers like R21, R27, or 61 are usually more important regional highways, while higher numbers often serve more local connections. Good examples of R routes include the R21, which is a major route linking OR Tambo International Airport to Pretoria. The R27 runs along the west coast from Cape Town up toward Namibia, serving smaller coastal towns. The R61 connects the Eastern Cape interior to the coast near Port St. John's. The quality of R routes can vary a lot. Some, especially busy ones near major cities, are built to nearly the same standard as N routes with dual carriageways with wide lanes. Others in rural provinces might be single carriageways with less frequent maintenance depending on traffic demand and funding. For example, the R21 in Gauteng is heavily used since it links Pretoria and Johannesburg to the OR Tambo International Airport located at Kempton Park. For this reason, it's built to high standards, like an N road with wide lanes and big interchanges. In Cape Town, the R300 that links Philippi to the N1 in Brackenfell is built to the N standard since it traverses across the greater Cape Town metro. Another notable R road in Cape Town is the R310, which links Muizenberg in the south to Stellenbosch in the east. Most R routes are managed by provincial governments, not SANRAL, which explains why quality differs from one province to another. Wealthier provinces like Gauteng or Western Cape often keep their R roads in excellent shape, while more rural provinces may struggle with upkeep. The metropolitan routes, or M roads, are the third tier of South Africa's road network, focused entirely on city-level transport. Unlike the national and regional routes, which are standardized across the country, the M routes are controlled by municipalities. This means each city has its own numbering system, and the same M number can exist in different cities but represent completely different roads. These are the routes designed to handle urban traffic, commuters going to work, students heading to universities, and trucks supplying businesses. The M1 in Joburg is the most famous of all the metropolitan roads in South Africa. It's a full freeway that runs south to north through the city, starting in Johannesburg South and ending at the Woodmead interchange, where it merges with the N1 and N3, carrying tens of thousands of commuters daily as part of Joburg's dense highway web. Anyone who has seen the skyline of Johannesburg with cars streaming along the M1 knows just how central this road is to the rhythm of the city. Another important M route in Joburg is the M2, which runs east-west through the city center, linking the M1 with the N3 and N12. It's essential for moving traffic across downtown Joburg. Cape Town's M roads feel different. Here, the city is hemmed in by mountains and the ocean, so the network stretches outward into the suburbs. The M3 runs through the leafy southern suburbs toward Westlake, while the M5 connects communities on the Cape Flats to the N1 and N2 and easing pressure on the national routes by absorbing local traffic. M7 bypasses the city and connects industrial areas around Epping, giving Cape Town flexibility in traffic management. And perhaps interestingly, Cape Town has one of the world's most famous freeways to nowhere. The Foreshore Freeway Bridge, part of the planned Eastern Boulevard freeway system, was started in the 1970s, but never completed due to budget issues and urban planning debates. To this day, it ends abruptly in mid-air above the city, a landmark of what could have been. Durban's M roads, on the other hand, hug the coast and reach into the inland townships. The M4, often called the Blue Route, runs alongside the Indian Ocean, doubling as both a commuter freeway and a scenic drive north toward Umhlanga. The M7 links Durban's port and southern suburbs to Queensburg and Pinetown in the west, while the M13 and M19 connect Durban Central and Durban North, respectively, to Pinetown. It's worth mentioning that not all M routes are built to full freeway standards like the Joburg's M1. Some are wide arterial roads, often with traffic lights and intersections, but still crucial to urban movement. What makes them important is how they integrate with the bigger network. M roads connect suburbs to national routes, feed into regional roads, and keep the internal circulation of each city running smoothly. South Africa's highways aren't just known by their numbers. Many also carry names that reflect the country's complex history and rich culture. Take Cape Town's N1, for example. As it heads towards Century City, it becomes Frederick Willem de Klerk Boulevard, named after South Africa's last white-era president. He's the man who ended apartheid, freed Nelson Mandela, and opened the door to a new democratic South Africa. The N1 between Johannesburg and Pretoria, which is actually the busiest freeway in South Africa, is known as the Ben Schoeman Highway, named after a long-serving transport minister who oversaw major road expansion projects in the 20th century. In Bloemfontein, the N8 is called Nelson Mandela Drive as it runs across the CBD, named after the country's first democratically elected president and an anti-apartheid revolutionary. In Durban, the M13 is named after King Kate Shwayo, the Zulu monarch who once defied British rule. While the names appear on signs and in history books, most South Africans simply use the numbers in daily life. Maintaining South Africa's extensive highway network is expensive, and much of the funding comes through a mix of public and private investment. The South African National Roads Agency oversees most national routes, often partnering with private concessionaires who build and maintain sections in exchange for toll revenue. That's why many of the busiest highways, like the N1 between Johannesburg and Pretoria or the N3 to Durban, operate as toll roads. The money collected is reinvested into resurfacing, widening, new interchanges, and even services like emergency response and rest stops, which help keep standards consistently high. One excellent example of SANRAL's effectiveness is the Mount Edgecombe interchange upgrade, where the N2 meets the M41 at Umhlanga. Before, the interchange was a diamond junction with traffic lights, regularly causing long queues on both the N2 and the M41. Around 40,000 vehicles tried to enter or exit daily. SANRAL, in partnership with KZN Transport and eThekwini Municipality, spent around 1.14 billion rand to convert it into a 4-level free-flow interchange, complete with massive bridges and directional ramps that eliminate most traffic lights. They added at least 2 lanes for all major movements, lighting, pedestrian bridges, and kept traffic moving throughout construction. Another example of SANRAL's technical ambition is the N2/N3 corridor upgrades still in KwaZulu-Natal, aimed at modernizing the vital trade route between Durban, Pietermaritzburg, and Johannesburg. Launched in phases from 2020 onward, with work on the N2 near eThekwini beginning in 2022, the project carries an estimated cost of about 53 billion rand. The upgrade of the N2 will focus on a 55-kilometer length from the Lovu River on the south coast to Umdloti on the north coast. The N3 upgrade will focus on an 80-kilometer section from Durban to Pietermaritzburg. It includes widening long stretches of both highways to 4 or 5 lanes per direction, smoothing out dangerous alignments, and upgrading key interchanges. At the heart of these works is the EB Cloete interchange, famously known as Spaghetti Junction, where the N2 and N3 meet. Completed in 1974, this interchange is being completely reconfigured to handle much higher traffic volumes, reduce bottlenecks, and improve safety in one of the busiest highway nodes in the country. While certain packages are scheduled to finish by 2025, the full set of corridor upgrades, including the EB Cloete overhaul, is expected to run until about 2027, ensuring that the road network can keep pace with growing trade through the port of Durban. Finally, we have the N2 Garden Route upgrade, which prioritizes enhancing safety and improving traffic flow along one of South Africa's most scenic highways. Running between George and Plettenberg Bay, the project involves widening lanes, strengthening bridges, and resurfacing dangerous sections. It's part of SANRAL's effort to modernize a route famous for its beauty, but known for sharp bends and congestion, making it safer for both tourists and freight traffic. Projects like this show that when SANRAL plans and invests, the difference in smoothness, safety, and travel time is very real. South Africa's highways, while impressive, face growing challenges that shape their future. Rapid urbanization and increasing freight volumes put constant pressure on routes like the N1, N2, and N3, leading to congestion and heavy wear. Maintenance is expensive, and SANRAL has at times faced public resistance to tolling, as seen with the Gauteng e-toll system. Funding shortfalls also slow the pace of upgrades, even as demand rises. Yet the future remains promising. Large-scale projects like the N2 Wild Coast Road and the N2/N3 corridor upgrades show a commitment to modernization, while new technologies in traffic management, digital tolling, and smart infrastructure are being explored. The challenge will be balancing world-class design and upkeep with affordability and equitable access, ensuring the system continues to support trade, tourism, and daily life across South Africa. Thank you for watching. Please like this video and comment what you want to see next.